Hi there friends, it's Cassie and welcome back for another YouTube video. Today we are going to be making a very special card. It is a shaker and easy light up card. Wow, right? So let's jump into what we're using. I have the Easy Lights by Pearblossom Press. I also have this amazing Black Sentiment stock by Pearblossom Press. We have a few embellishments that we are going to use. I'll talk about those later. And then we have some stamps by My Favorite Things. We have the interactive labels, and then we have the Meowy Christmas stamps and dies. So I'm just going to jump right into our coloring. I went ahead and stamped these out onto some Express It cardstock using Memento TUXEDO black ink, both Copic friendly, and I'm going to Copic color. So I will put the colors up on the screen for you. This is going to be fairly simple. This first color I'm putting down is just some YG67, and I'm only going to come in with one other color for this tree. And I'm going to do a lot of flicking motions with this, and I won't blend it out. So we've got YG99, and that's just, I'm flicking into the center, and that'll give some variation in that color, but also give a little bit of movement as well. And I'll do that all throughout the entire piece. For the baubles and the star, we're going to go with one simple color because those baubles, a couple of them are going to have lights. And so it really won't be that important. So I've got some R24, and at this point I haven't decided which baubles I'm going to have light up, so I'm just going to color all of them. And then we'll just color the star super quickly. And then for the trunk, the base of the tree, I'm just coloring that black because that's going to get covered, or brown, dark brown, because that's going to get covered. For our kittens, if you follow me at all, you know that I have Siamese, so I'm going to color these to be all like Siamese. And they're going to be like Max and Miles. So this first one is going to be like Max. I did a wash of E50, and then I'm going to come in with my mid-tone, which is E84, and put that where his markings are. That's my mid-tone. And then I'm going to come in with some E87 eventually. But I'm going to do two of these to look like Max, and two of these to look like Miles. And Max is a seal point, which is why he's got the little darker, more brown color. So here we'll come in with some E87 and just add a little bit darker to some of those areas, because he is actually fairly dark in his markings. And then for the other cat as well, I stamped out 4 because I want to put 2 on the outside of my card and 2 on the inside. And you guessed it, the sleeping cats will go on the outside. And then I'm going to go backwards. So then we'll do the E84 so I can blend that darker shade out just a little bit. And then we'll come in with that E50 to blend even more. And that'll do it for Max. Now Miles is a blue point, so he's going to get some gray. So I've got some W3, that's my mid-tone, and then my darker shade is W5. And it's funny how that one cat looks bigger than the other, but actually Miles is the bigger one. They are siblings, but Miles is bigger. And it's a shame they didn't come in while I was filming this, because they probably would have been interested. I would think anyway, right? They are my muse for sure. So here we have the W5. And then once again, we'll work backwards with the W3 to blend that out, just like I did before. But it's really pretty simple. That's how I color my Siamese cats. And then I need to come in with some pinks for their noses and ears. So that's just going to be the R83, and they'll come up here on the screen here in a second. And then even this little guy's mouth that is meowing or singing. He could be singing. And then for my boys, one always has a red collar, and that would be Miles. So Miles is going to get the red Santa hat and the red collar. And I'll just do 2 colors here. So R39. And then Max always has blue, so he gets a blue Santa hat and a blue scarf. And I will use one other darker color for that. And I will blend that out because that one is a little bit darker than the B26 that I originally grabbed. So B26 and B29. And then this piece here is cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So it's the full size of an A2 size card. and this is more expressive cardstock, and I'm going to be building my scene. Now, I am not great with like drawing, really. I can color, but I'm not really good at drawing. So drawing a scene back here, I am just putting down some color because I need this to look like the inside of a house. And so I'm doing something fairly simple. Obviously those lines aren't even straight. I'm trying to make a baseboard. And when you are trying to do straight lines with Copics, my biggest or best suggestion I can give you is to move your whole hand, not just your wrist. So I'm trying to give some floorboards here and make it give the illusion that you're looking into the room. And then I'll blend that out. And then I am going to come in with that darker shade again to deepen the baseboard a little bit more. But, you know, this isn't perfect, and it doesn't have to be. It's the background, and people aren't going to be paying too close of attention to that, to be honest with you. They're just going to be looking at the scene that you've built. And I'm no master at this. So, again, come back in with some of those colors or to deepen it up a little bit, and then blend that out even a little more. And building up in layers just kind of helps to break that up a little more. And then for our wall color, I want a yellow. I picked a yellow that is starting to dry out, unfortunately. I do need the refill. Of course, I had to pick one that needs a refill. But we started with this, so we're going to finish with it. And it does give some lines, but that's where I am going to come in with another shade. It's going to be a little bit more yellow, but I'm going to bring that in. It's crazy to think that I've been collecting Copics for this many years, for many years as I have, and I don't have all the refills and all that. All right, so I'll bring in that next darker color that seems to be plenty juicy, and we'll just go over everything. And again, this is just part of the background, so it's going to be broken up by all the other things that we put on top of it. It just needed to be a base so that you get the impression that we have a wall and some floor and a floor. All right, now I'm going to bring in the matching dies for my cats and my tree, and we'll run that through our die cutting machine. And then we'll start working on placement of other things for our scene. It wasn't until I did this that I started to realize I want this to be a shaker. So I'm going to bring in a square die. This happens to be the Wonky stitched square, but any square die will do. And then I do have a piece of navy cardstock that is definitely a little bit bigger than that window that I've made. And I'm going to bring in my Gansai Tambi Starry Night, or Starry Colors, and just do some splatter all over that background. Now, do you see that little flower? It's like a little porcelain flower on the side. That is over at Pearblossom Press as well, and that's the paintbrush rest, and I am in love with it. That seems to be my problem, or before I had this, is I would set my paintbrush down and it would roll off and get paint everywhere. But this little dish is great because I can hold my paintbrush, and you can also like do splatter with it. So, all right, now I'm going to put down a piece of acetate. So I'm taking some 1/8 inch Express-It tape. It's like a score tape or just a double-sided tape. I'll put a piece of porcelain. Put a piece of acetate down. That's going to be my window. And then from here, I need to decide where my tree is going to be, because I also need to decide where my lights are going to be. So I'm holding that up there, and then I'll decide which 3 baubles I want to poke holes through. So I'll take my pickup tool from Trinity Stamps and then just push those through the baubles. And I'm pushing all the way through. This is great for it. And then I'll have those nice holes there. And then I need to decide where it's going to sit on my page. And once I get that figured out, I don't have any of those baubles going over the acetate itself. I'll go ahead and glue down my tree. And once the tree is glued down, we're going to poke our holes through even further. So I'll poke it through. And this one does touch some of the acetate, but it doesn't go through the window itself. Even if it did, it's fine. The tree covers that. But, you know, I probably should have planned a little bit better. This was originally just going to be an easy light card, but I decided let's go a step further and make it a shaker. Why not? So I'll poke those holes through. And then here's where we need to start framing out our shaker area with some foam tape. So I'm going to use some Heavy Doodle thicker foam tape. This is in Amanda's store over at Pearblossom Press. This stuff is fabulous because it's perfect for the easy lights and it's perfect for shakers. You don't have to double it up. It's already thick enough. It's a 12 millimeter deep. Is it? No. Is it? 3 millimeters. It's 3 millimeters deep. My bad. So I'm framing that area around where those dots and holes are going to be, just making sure they're all good. And I did cut away some of the acetate in those areas as well. And then I'll just frame up the rest of the shaker. I'm not going to go ahead and put all of my foam tape down because I do need to put my lights down first. So here are the easy lights. If you've never used these before, they are easy. I mean, that's the title of them, and they really are, you'll see. And then here's the battery. So I'll take the battery. There's a plus and a minus on it. Just line up the plus with the plus on the mechanism, pop it in place, press your button, and we're all good to go. And so now I can just take those lights and stick those right into each of those holes that I've already poked through. And I'm going to tack this down with a little bit of washi tape. Keep in mind, this is the back. No one's going to see this unless they tear the card apart. And who would do that, right? That's just terrible. So I'll just make sure those lights are facing through, and I put that washi tape pretty much right up against that edge. And then now I've got to decide where I want my button to go. I like to make it so that the recipient can reach the battery if they need to. And so as often as I can anyway. And these easy lights make that pretty simple to do. So I'll put a little bit more of that 1/8 inch Express It tape behind on the back of my mechanism, and then line up where I think I want my push button to be, also making sure that I don't have to, make those wires bend too much. And I think that's pretty good. Everything's still working. All right, and then our next step is just to tie up the loose ends, basically. So I'm going to take another piece of washi tape, and this isn't pretty, folks, but it doesn't have to be. And then I just tack all of those wires down. That's all you got to do. I'll trim off the excess of my tree, and now I can start putting the rest of my foam tape down. And all you want to do is just avoid the lights themselves and obviously go around the mechanism. And this is why I like having both the thicker of this Heavy Doodle foam tape and the thinner. It's perfect for this. So now you want to peel off all of that release paper before you put any of your shakers bits into your window. I can't believe I made a double interactive, right? How cool. So these are the Buttons Galore and More Crystal Stars. I thought that would be perfect for a night sky. I'll flip those to make sure they're all facing forward, and then I'll take my night sky that I made with all my splatters and just stick that down over the top. Easy peasy. And then I'm going to attach that down to an A2 size card base. And my lights are still working beautifully. So I do need to put a little bit of liquid glue on the back. And then I can just pop this down on top of my card base, lining that up carefully. There it is. My next step would be to put a frame around my window. I realized that looked really blank. So I'm going to just do the same thing I did with the floorboards and just draw a frame around my window. If I'd have been thinking, I might have cut out some from cardstock, but this goes with that background, just doing something like this. I'll bring in those same colors I did before. And again, it's not perfect. There's no perfect line here, but I think that adds to the painterly look that I have going on with that background. And then it really does draw your eye just to your images mostly, especially once I get the little kittens down. So now our window's all framed up. And I'll need to stamp out where the push button is. So I'll bring in the interactive labels by My Favorite Things. This is also in the Pearblossom Press store. I'm just grabbing the word push and grabbing out some black ink, and then I'll just stamp that right over the top of where that button is so our recipient will know exactly where to push. I want to cover up those holes that I made, so I've brought in the Buttons Galore and More Peppermint Jazz. And I am going to put a few of those baubles down on top of our holes and also the baubles that are already there. So it adds this total cohesion. And for the holes that I have, I'm just kind of circling around that hole, and then my embellishment nestles in there quite nicely. So you'll see me just kind of draw a circle of glue around that and then stick my embellishment right on top. And then I'll show you after a bit how that looks once we get our kittens down, Max and Miles. They look so cute. And that's exactly how they will be, I'm sure, under the tree. Probably not with a hat on, though. And now I talked about this cardstock earlier. This is not like any other ordinary cardstock for sentiments. This is so smooth. I'm going to put some magic powder bag on that, take the sentiment that I plan to use from the Meowy Christmas, ink that up with some juicy embossing ink, stamp that down, cover that with my alabaster embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that till that's smooth and melted. But this cardstock is unlike any other. I think that this is going to now be my go-to for sentiments. It's absolutely perfect. That magic powder bag will wipe away so perfectly. It's just so smooth. It was like it was just absolutely designed for sentiments. I guess that's probably why it's called the black sentiment stock, because it is perfect, and it's just the right thickness too. So we'll stick that down to the top, and then I do have the last couple of kittens. I'm going to attach these to the inside using that same liquid glue. And then I have to bring in another sentiment, so I'm going to bring in the last sentiment in the Meowy Christmas that says Meowy Christmas. And I'll stamp that using some black ink right underneath our kittens. Put that yarn ball down at the bottom. That was my last little bit. And that's going to finish off our card for today. Check it out. It's a shaker and it lights up. Oh, I love how those baubles light up. How great is that? So if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.